Well, I believe in God, just in a different way from Christians. So the spark of life is God. Nature is God. If you want to believe that God created nature and directs it, it's all the same thing.
It's in nature. It's
so,
and
what the rabbi said about how nature, like all earthquakes and volcanoes, yeah, we take the good with the bad because that is what life is. There's birth, but there's death as well. You've got to take the good with the bad.
Richard Deanoth, is this a good religion?
No, I mean it hasn't. Well, it is at least about the divine. So it is a religion, and it's produced Emma, who's one of the wisest people one could come across. But the difficulty is that it does worship nature, and as the rabbi says, well, your website says that it does, and you said a lot along those grounds. And the difficulty is with enshrining nature is that there's no morality in nature. There's just
no morality, and we were talking about in the previous debate.
Forgive me. Nature is just what it is. The thing about the Christian and the Jewish creation, and I think it's a creation of a God, is it's an interesting God. It's a God about whom Christians and Jews and Muslims actually have come to a view. And actually, one of the interesting things about it is that it says man really matters to God and is incredibly important. Now, that does not, in my view, produce the effect that man can run mad over his planet.
Some think that, though.
Some do, not many. I think what...
Well, George Bush would dig up Alaska because he thinks he's got the right to do that.
Actually, George Bush was a rather more nuanced individual than anybody likes to imagine, and certainly... no, forgive me. Actually, it was a lot of the Christian right in America who first talked in America about climate change and took it seriously. So one has to be serious about it. But the essence of it is I think, whatever I hear about paganism and their God, it's a rather boring one, like nature.
Emma, you've got whatever else Richard said, he gave you a great billing.
Richard, if nature is boring, I treat you to live more
as a
richly.
moral guide, as a moral guide, you can't look to nature because it's just a whole lot of stuff.
No.
Red in tooth and claw, cuddling bunnies, it's all kinds of stuff.
Okay. Perhaps one of the key differences between the Semitic religions, the religions of the book, and paganism, is that in paganism the gods are not the authority. What is the authority that we look to is sustainable relationship. So we look to nature to understand nature. We don't look to nature, we don't worship nature. I'm using a Christian sort of understanding of worship. We're not bowing down, we're not submitting to nature.
If I may, the Vatican said, and this helps us a lot, I think, the Vatican, criticising paganism, said recently, nature is no longer a creation to defend, but a divinity to worship.
Okay.
So you say that criticism is misplaced?
Yes, it is. It's misunderstanding paganism entirely. If you submit to the ocean, you drown. If you try to control the ocean, then you're deluded. You learn how to live with the ocean, you learn how to float, to swim, to be a part of it, to be with it. That is the nature of pagans' relationship with nature. It's a worship of study. It's a worship of understanding.
Is there life after death, or is this it?
Now there we come to the very many different British paganisms, let alone the many paganisms around the world. What is the essence of paganism is that learning to live with nature instead of trying to control, dominate, or look after it in a patronising sense. We are no better than nature. We're not better. We're not more
Does our energy
important or
continue
less
after we've died?
Yes, many people think it does.
Join the adventures of Dale and Eric as they live together finally in harmony. Or so you thought. Eric, I'm home. Dale arrives home, forgets to ash. Eric's not gonna like that one bit. Dale better go ahead and clean up and freshen up before Eric gets home. Eric drives up suddenly. Smells something out of the ordinary. Dale, baby, I'm home. Whoa, what is that? Oh my goodness, that looks like ash. I better pull out my kit. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna call it the the truth. This has been a Don't Be Mad production.
So week 1, we were Generation X, and last week we were Generation X/Y. And then I come to find out that Generation Y is really anybody born 1980s to 2000, so that pretty much covers off on what I'm talking about. So we're gonna just go with that. Just roll the ting, man, roll the clip. Welcome to Magic versus Logic, sex, love, and relationship advice for Generation Y, given by yours truly, but really juried by you guys at home. How it works is as follows. I read out a question, and then I give 2 bits of advice. One from the head and one from the heart, and then you all at home get to vote in the comment section below on which advice you think is best. That being said, let's begin with the question. This week's email comes from a dude. I know I shouldn't be dancing because that's kind of sexist, but women just love giving relationship advice to guys, so this was pretty exciting for me. Nick writes, I'm in my 20s and dating the same girl for like 4 years. 2 months ago, there is this girl I began following online. I found myself looking at her pictures a lot. And then a couple weeks back, she began following and liking my photos. Now, I love my girlfriend, but I find lately I am now fantasizing about this other girl a lot and going out of my way to do things I think she'll respond to. Now, is this cheating? Most children, I know I did when I was a kid, fantasize another set of parents or fantasize no parents at all. They don't tell their real parents about that, if they're smart. I chose that quote because since we were knee-high to a grasshopper, most of us have been thinking that the grass is greener on the other side of the fence. But how many of us have actually ever divorced our parents?
I made my family disappear.
So long story short, fantasy is a normal part of life, and if you found a healthy and safe way to practice that, then good for you. As long as the two of you guys haven't outlined this as a no-no, which I doubt you guys have sat down and talked about liking someone's photos for X amount of days, for X amount of time, then liking X amount of your photos and that being a problem. So in that case, what you're doing is not cheating. Our ability to recognize objects in the real world versus what we imagine the world to be like come from completely separate parts of the brain, the dorsal and the ventral. Furthermore to that, the part of the brain that dreams or processes REM sleep is at the base of the skull, while logic and things that put everything in perspective is at the top. Hence, they couldn't be any further apart. Your fantasies and what you dream of don't necessarily have a lot to do with how you perceive your reality. In conclusion, as long as you don't create an emotional or physical relationship with this person, I don't think it's cheating, nor do I think you're particularly doing anything wrong that you should alert your partner of. Trust me, over your course of your relationship, potentially your marriage to this person, you are going to switch fantasies and switch fetishes so many different times. Ask any married couple. It's totally normal, and you're a sweet guy for even considering it. For further reading about the dorsal and ventral systems and other ways which fantasy and reality are not competing with one another, you have to go to the info box below because I wrote a whole, well actually I posted, I can't take credit, a whole slew of nerdy science articles. In addition, I also did link some blogs written by some dudes that I think really support and show this from a different perspective, because once in a while, guys do give good advice, even though girls do give the best. Holler. Obsession is the single most wasteful human activity because with an obsession, you keep coming back and back and back to the same question and you never get an answer. Now, the question of whether or not your actions would be perceived as infidelity by your partner can really only be answered by one person. And since you're asking me and not your woman, we can only assume what she'd probably say.
You's a lying, cheating, son of a...
So by obsessing over this online flirt romance thing you have going on right now, you're putting your actual relationship at a severe disadvantage, as your girlfriend now has to compete with this fictional character who never has the opportunity to show what her imperfections are. If you're asking my stance on whether or not this is cheating, yes, I do believe